Happy Monday. I have a beautiful new story, and this one comes from a book called Small Miracles of Love and Friendship by co-author Judith Leventhal. A woman's life is saved after she finds and rereads a thank you card that she had received 6 years prior, a card containing the key to saving her very own life. It's a beautiful story that reminds us of what can happen when one person stretches out a hand to help another. Miracles can happen. Enjoy the story. When Frank Lamberti was diagnosed with cancer, he and his wife Kathleen were shocked by the news. They were especially devastated because they had both lost their parents to cancer. So Kathleen's first reaction was one of fear, as she thought her husband was going to die. Doctors have discovered that a lump in his thigh was liposarcoma, a very rare and deadly disease. It was the size of Frank's hand and seemed to have just popped out overnight. It looked like an extra muscle growing extra fat. The doctors agreed that the only chance for survival was to amputate his leg at the hip, something that neither of them really wanted. Kathleen wasn't going to sit still and watch her husband die or lose his leg. She thought that there had to be someone that could help. She called state congressmen, she called local city officials, she called doctors across the country, and then finally, she decided to call Diane Gonzalez on the news. Diane Gonzalez covered the medical news report for Miami television since 1983. Because of her high-profile position, Diane often received medical inquiries from her viewers. Unfortunately, Diane was unable to respond to every request or story idea, but every so often she would recognize what appeared to be a situation in which she could help. The call from Kathleen came in precisely the right moment. Diane heard about Frank's case and agreed to help since she was about to interview a cancer surgeon later that afternoon, so she figured she could ask if he could help. Remarkably, the oncologist that Diane interviewed that day turned out to be a specialist in the type of rare cancer that Frank had contracted. I mean, that's pretty amazing right there. The doctor had developed a radical technique that could save Frank's leg. A few weeks later, the doctor operated on Frank, and after subsequent radiation treatments, the cancer disappeared and his leg completely healed. They felt it was a miracle to have found Diane to help. Otherwise, they don't even want to know what could have happened. It was remarkable she agreed to help them when she didn't even know who they were. Kathleen knew there could be no way that she could ever repay Diane's kindness. So she sat down to write Diane a heartfelt note telling her if there was anything she could do one day to repay the favor. Receiving the note made Diane feel so gratified that her intervention had somehow helped save this man's leg and life. So she decided to keep the note as a keepsake, as it was not an ordinary note. Diane's decision to save the note was the beginning of yet another miracle. 6 years later, while going through some old papers belonging to her late father, she stumbled upon the note again. Diane didn't even know how the note had gotten in that box, since everything in it was her father's personal papers. As she read the note once more to her husband, it brought memories back of Frank's rare form of cancer and of the great doctor. But it also reminded her of something else as well. It was a spark, almost like a wake-up call, as she had been ignoring a similar swelling in her own thigh, which she thought was due to her running and working out, and perhaps she had hurt a muscle somehow. Diane contacted the same doctor she had found for Frank 6 years earlier. Subsequent tests revealed that she had contracted the same deadly form of cancer that Frank had, and in the same location. Wow. It is a rare form of cancer that forms on the soft fatty tissue, and there's only a couple of thousand cases every year in the United States. The oncologist performed the same surgical technique that had been used on Frank. Now, Diane has been cancer-free for years. Diane gives thanks to finding that thank you card that prompted her to go and to have herself checked out. She is afraid that if many months had passed by, her prognosis may not have been as good. In fact, her doctor said it was amazing that she caught it on time. But in truth, she owed it to the letter sent to her years earlier when she was gracious enough to help save a life. Now, the favor was being repaid with saving hers. What a story, don't you think? I mean, I just loved it because, like the author Judith Leventhal says, there is no such thing as luck or mere coincidences. What were the odds that Diane would help Frank by finding a doctor whose very technique would help save a life, and years later will save her very own? Coincidence or miracle? You decide. And given that today is Monday, the first day of the week, let that be your theme. Every day this week, make a point to do small acts of kindness, because as you saw in the episode, any small act can make a difference in someone's life, including your very own. Sometimes what goes around comes around. Diane helped Frank and Kathleen, and somehow their letter of gratitude helped save Diane's very life. I hope you've enjoyed the story. Please remember to subscribe to my storytelling channel, share the video with as many people as possible, and help me grow. I will see you next week with another inspirational story. In the meantime, stay grateful, stay safe, and I'm going to leave you with the words of Joseph Campbell. It is one of the beautiful compensations of life that no man can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. See you next week.